Welcome back, guys. After a long lunch break, I hope I am audible as well as visible. We'll wait for one more minute, let others join, and then we'll begin our discussion for the day. Okay, so let's begin now. First up, any doubts that you have? No doubts, no issues, no concern. Then we'll begin our discussion. Now, before the break, we are discussing about one very important element, and that important element was the idea of how Article 3 allows the parliament to modify, to alter, to change, increase, decrease the size of the states, the territorial boundaries, and the names of the states. Now, in your IR classes, you'll get to know this very interesting concept of enclaves. What is an enclave? Enclave is a piece of land which is surrounded by one common foreign land on all sides. That's called an enclave. Clear? So, enclave refers to a piece of land surrounded by one common foreign land on all sides. Clear? This story of enclaves started in the British times, and I'll give you an example of how this also came into existence. So these are, think of them as two kingdoms. This is a kingdom of, say, Rangpur, and this is the kingdom of Kuch Bihar. Now, what happened? What happened was that as far as these kingdoms were concerned, the Maharajas were concerned, they were enjoying their life. They were having the time of their life in these kingdoms, right? So, not really much was being done by them. They had vast tracts of land and no work to do. So, how to pass time? Did not even have TikTok at that point of time to make these cringe-worthy reels or Instagram. So, they used to play chess. And when they played chess, how they would go about is, these are Maharajas, right? So when you play such games like, say, poker or Teen Patti, Flash, Dream 11, you bet 1 rupee, 10 rupees, 50 rupees. These are Maharajas. They used to bet villages only, bet on village. So let's say on Monday, the Maharaja of Kuch Bihar wins the match, chess match. He says, now this part belongs to me. This part belongs to now Kuch Bihar. Now the Maharaja of Rangpur goes back home on Tuesday, right? Goes back home on Monday night, eats some almonds, drinks Complan, Bonvita, etc., and now practices and comes on Tuesday and wins the match. Now he says, "Come on, I want this part." Now this part belongs to Rangpur. On Wednesday again, the Maharaja of Kuch Behar, this time again, he goes back home and practices and eats some almonds and walnuts and wins the match. Now he says, "I want this part back." Think of all these situations. You cannot move land. On paper, now imagine a situation here. On paper, this piece of land belongs to Kuch Behar. Yes or no? Meaning all the people now are residents of Kuch Behar, but they are surrounded by Rangpur on all sides. Or think of this. This piece of land belongs to Kuch Behar. All the people here are residents of Kuch Behar. They are surrounded by people who are residents of Rangpur, who are surrounded by people who are residents of again Kuch Behar. Enclaves. This was a concern. Now, when we became independent, one statistician was called to India to bifurcate the boundary between India and Pakistan, East and West Pakistan. This fellow, Sir Cyril Ratcliffe, he came and he said, "We are dividing lines, line drawn, done. This is Pakistan, this is India." Meaning, on paper, they said that Kuch Bihar belongs to India. If you say Kuch Bihar belongs to India, then this part is also India. These people are Indian citizens. People here have no idea what is happening in their life. But on paper, they are Indian citizens. And look at this situation. If you say that Rangpur belongs to East Pakistan, then these people are Pakistanis, surrounded by India on all sides. And these Indian citizens living inside the boundary of India are still surrounded by Pakistanis on all sides. Maybe to go next door, you need a passport now. These kind of problems were there. Then sometimes some areas were not demarcated properly, like one Berubari in the Jalpaiguri district, Thana number 12, not demarcated properly. So the point here I'm trying to make is that how to solve this problem? Exchange these things. You can simply say, by this area belongs to you, it is inside your boundary, keep it. This belongs to us, we'll keep it. Simple. But when you are exchanging these enclaves, you are actually theoretically giving up some part of India to another country. Same here, right? This exchange of enclaves actually affected the uh, affected the situation with respect to how the boundary disputes are being resolved internationally, right? So this problem of enclaves acts as an impediment. Now, if the parliament, pass a simple majority and say we are giving this part to uh, Pakistan, go take it, I am actually giving up Indian land to a foreign country. Yes or no? So originally what happened was that this concept of exchanging these territories, or rather the Berubari Union, this small area where the lines were not clearly divided, this can be attributed to the failure of Cyril Ratcliffe. But otherwise, enclaves was an internal problem of India. It is just that these were ignored when the lines were divided. Okay. Now, Pandit Nehru signed an agreement with the Pakistani Prime Minister that came to be known as the Nehru-Noon Agreement. 1958, this agreement was signed. 1958. Nehru was the first PM of India. Noon, it's not afternoon. This is a person, Firoz Shah Noon. Firoz Shah Noon was the seventh Prime Minister of Pakistan. Seventh Prime Minister. While we have the first PM, Pakistan already had seven Prime Ministers. So we knew very well where this country was heading, right from the onset. Right? Anyway, when this agreement was signed to give this part to Pakistan, Parliament became very angry. How dare you sign this agreement? Article 3, we will make a law. So Nehru said, let's do one thing. Let's ask Supreme Court only. So under the provisions of Article 143, remember Article 143? The Supreme Court can be, the advice or opinion of Supreme Court can be sought, advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court. RE Berubari Union. Presidential reference was made for Berubari Union. That Supreme Court, tell us what to do. We have to solve this problem. Article 3 or executive order. Supreme Court said, nota, none of the above. If you have to solve this problem, please use Article 368. Meaning, settlement of boundary disputes if it involves ceding. What is cede? Cede means to give up the Indian territory to another country. This can only be done through an amendment to the Constitution, Article 368. Clear? So, from now, please remember that Article 3 is used only for internal reorganization. If you have to give up land to a foreign country, then it would need Article 368, and hence here also the result was what? We passed the 9th Amendment Act 1960 to give Beribari Union to East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. Problem solved. In fact, one more example is the India Bangladesh land boundary agreement. This was also done through the 100th Amendment Act 2015. Okay, so with this Amendment Act, we actually gave up large part of land to Bangladesh, and we also got some land in exchange. We exchanged the enclaves. So roughly 111 enclaves were given to Bangladesh. That is around 17,000 acres of land. And we got 51 enclaves in return. That is around 7,000 acres of land. In our country, enclaves were called chit mahals, right? Okay. Just a small point to mention here. However, settlement of boundary disputes not involving giving up land, that is ceding of land, can be done via executive order. Meaning, this is what Supreme Court said in 1969, that in case you want to settle any boundary disputes which do not involve giving up Indian land, then that can be done through an executive order. But if you are giving up Indian land, then sorry, then we have only one option, Article 368. Are we clear? So this judgment is with respect to Madan Bhai Ishwar Bhai Patel case 1969. We'll be discussing this maybe again in your IR classes, including the Indo-Bangladesh land boundary agreement, etc. More on this. So I hope you know the base now, the provisions, the corresponding points, best left for IR classes. Now, we will just a minute, guys. Okay, so we were discussing. Oh, we've erased that. So when we were discussing Article 1 to 4, I had mentioned how we had the British Indian provinces, British India. We had the governors' provinces, and we also had the princely states. Now, when India became independent, you see the states and UTs in their current form. That is not how India was internally organized back in 1950s. So internally, India was organized like this. We had four different categories: Part A type states, Part B category states, Part C category states, and Part D. So Part A referred to former British provinces, meaning those large provinces that directly came to India, they were a part of Part A category states. They had a governor and, of course, a state legislature. Some examples: those larger princely states or groups of covenanting. Covenanting means coming together. So, some of the smaller princely states came together and they were put under category B states. Their former princes were made the head, called Raj Pramukh. Then the former princely states and smaller provinces, some of the smaller princely states and smaller provinces, they were put under Part C, and their head was called Chief Commissioner, directly controlled by center. This is what we say is the origin or the source of union territories in India. This Part C category states. And finally, we had just one example in Part D, that is the Andaman and Nicobar Island, the only thing that was there in Part D. So our country was bifurcated into categories of states. Somewhere Part A, somewhere Part B, somewhere Part C, and one Part D. Now, a very, very important and crucial point to understand here is that when it came to the country's reorganization, back in 1920s only, the Congress had understood and realized that we want to reorganize the country along the lines of language, linguistic lines, states on the basis of language. These provinces and princely states had been formed because of the British occupation, the need of the time, right? So we wanted to reorganize it. And the Congress actually had promised that yes, we'll go for reorganization, don't worry. But in 1947, when this demand came up after independence, the Congress backtracked. Why? See, one reason that can be attributed to it is that the Congress, Nehru, etc., they witnessed the horrors of partition. And they said that if right now we further divide the country on the basis of language, it can give a feeling of no a sense of state consciousness, and it can result in balkanization, breaking away of various states out of the country. So he rejected it. But because of extreme demands, a commission was set up, the first Linguistic Provinces Commission, also called the Dhar Commission. Members were S.K. Dhar, who was the chairperson, Jain Lal and Panna Lal. Their task was to look into whether the country can be reorganized on the basis of language or not. Can we have one language, one state kind of concept? So, Dhar Commission, what it did was, It did some study, research, etc., and found that that is not possible. The country should be divided into states based on how easy it is to administer. The focus has to be on administrative convenience, meaning ease of administration, not linguistic factor. No, no, no. Linguistic meaning language, not on the basis of language. As soon as the Dhar Commission's report, called the first LPC, Linguistic Provinces Commission report, became public, people became very, very angry and upset, especially in the Madras province. Madras province is not today's Tamil Nadu, right? Madras province extended to touching the borders of Odisha and Bengal, right? So Madras province was a very big province. The extent was huge, not the limited Tamil Nadu that you see today. Okay. Anyway, so lot of Telugu speaking people in Madras province were very upset because they felt that if they remain a part of Madras province, then they'll be simply sidelined because the Tamil speaking people will capture all the jobs, will control politics, etc. They wanted their own state. Now, then comes the second LPC. Because of the demands and unhappiness of the people with the Dhar Commission recommendation, one more commission had to be set up. This time chaired by the members being Pandit Nehru, Pattabhi Sitaramaiya, and Sardar Patel. Hence, the committee was JVP committee. Now, this committee was just a joke. I'll tell you why. When you know very well that Nehru and Patel both had a single point agenda here: no balkanization, no reorganization. Any committee formed to accede to the demands of linguistic reorganization better be a joke only. We knew very well what was going to be the recommendation of this committee. And this committee submitted its report within 4 months and exactly as expected said that Dhar Commission is right. Amazing, very good Dhar Commission. Hats off to you. And they formally now rejected the reorganization of the country on the basis of language. Right. But once the LPC report came, again, lot of issues, concerns, protests, especially in the Madras province. Just a minute, guys. Now, so when it comes to the reorganization of Madras, this entire story starts in the 1950s because once the LPC recommendation said that sorry, we are not going to divide, protests in Madras province, and that too by the Telugu speaking people. These protests were led by Swami Sitaram. Swami Sitaram actually sat on a fast unto death. But he ended this fast on the 15th of August, 1951, on the advice of Vinoba Bhave that we look into it right now. Please don't create more problems. We're already facing a lot of issues, etc. So he agreed and he was weaned away from this particular protest. But anyway, the protests kept on happening in at the smaller scale. It continued, and these protests kept on happening because of what? So because of the demand made by people, because they felt that if we become a part of the Madras province, the Telugu people, then we would have no say in government jobs or whatever. But the real, or rather the spark, came from the death of Potti Sriramulu. Potti Sriramulu was actually, let's, Potti Sriramulu was actually a former Congress worker and also a railway employee. Now he sat on a fast unto death, and he passed away on the 15th of December 1952. His death, the result, people came to know of his death after he passed away. When his body was being taken away for cremation, then people came to know that there is somebody who has given up, who has laid down his life for their cause. It's then that the people realize that somebody has died. And let me tell you, Potti Sriramulu was the first ever person to die through fasting in a protest in independent India. Even in the modern India, no person had ever passed away. Lot of people had gone on a fast unto death. Only one death has been recorded so far in modern India, at least the most popular death, right? And that recorded death was of, in the case of Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev's case, Jatin Das. Jatin Das was the first ever known Indian who passed away in a fast unto death, because these people were fasting, all our freedom fighters were fasting uh, to fast against the ill treatment meted out to the Indian prisoners compared to the European prisoners in the jails. And he died, I think, on 13th of September. Oh, today is 16th. 13th of September, 1929, he passed away. So this was a very unique case in our country, that now we have our own government and people are fasting unto death and dying, but the government is deaf to all these pleadings, etc. And because of this, violent protests, which actually forced the government into creating the first ever state to be formed on the basis of language in independent India. So the result was a creation of Andhra state, not Andhra Pradesh, Andhra state, and the capital of Andhra state was Kurnool. And this was done on the 1st of October 1953. Now see, when you have met one demand to create a state on the basis of language, other demands, it's very natural that other demands will start coming up, right? And that's what happened. So government said, let's do one thing. Why to have this problem? A better thing would be that we should have a proper commission only to look into all these demands. So the result was the creation of the first ever SRC, States Reorganization Commission. And since the chairperson of this commission was Fazal Ali, who was a retired Supreme Court judge, belonged to a rich, affluent Bihar Zamindari family, K.M. Panikkar and H.N. Kunzru, the other members. So this Fazal Ali Commission, as it was popularly called, or the first SRC, was appointed in the wake or the aftermath of the creation of Andhra state. It took around 20 months to give its report, and finally, when it gave its report in September 1955, it said that, see, Language can be used as a criteria to create states. Yes, but it should not be used in such a manner that it threatens the national unity. Don't create states on the basis of language, which can result in the feeling of acute sense of state consciousness that my state is supreme. Other states, I don't care. To hell with you. My state, the best state. Right? This should not be there. And one language, one state, that's not possible. India has thousands of languages. We can never have this case of one state, one language. Sorry. And when you are creating a state, please take into account administration, financial viability. What is financial viability? Can the state survive or exist on its own? Yes or no? That's the question. Is the state too small to have any resources? So, a very good example would be the case of Delhi. So, the current dispensation in Delhi, the ruling party there and the leader there, they constantly claim that Delhi should be made a state. Of course, their demand is, why should I call anything stupid, but baseless, because Delhi is a capital. Having the national capital a part of a state may not go down well. Secondly, Delhi does not have any revenue generation source. Delhi depends on even the most basic needs, like say power, water, food, on the neighboring states, right? Delhi has only two things: shops and, of course, coaching institutes, nothing else, right? So, revenue generation is not core to the NCT, the National Capital Territory of Delhi. So, Delhi may not be able to exist on its own financially. It will be dependent completely on the center for resources. But that should not be the case. And lastly, it said, what is this part ABCD nonsense? Remove all this. Have two things. Number one, states. Number two, UTs. That's it. We should just have two things, states and UTs, nothing else. The entire country should be reorganized into 16 states and 3 union territories. This was the recommendation of the commission. The government accepted most of the recommendations. Seventh Amendment Act was passed, SRA was passed, and finally Part A, Part B was distinction was removed. Part C states were abolished. Some of them were merged, others were called UTs, and finally we had on the 1st of November 14 states and 6 union territories. The original 14 states are these: Andhra, Assam, Bihar, Bombay, Jammu Kashmir, Kerala, MP, West Bengal, UP, Rajasthan, Punjab, Odisha, Mysore, Madras. And the 6 UTs originally: Andaman, Delhi, Manipur, Tripura, Himachal, and Lakshadweep, Minicoy, and Amindivi, Lakshadweep Islands. And just to add here, in 1956, on the 1st of November 1956, the parts of Hyderabad were also merged and Andhra Pradesh was created, which continued to exist till what date or till which year? Tell me. Till which year? Till 2014. In 2014, again bifurcation happened of Andhra Pradesh into Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Clear? Okay, so that's it. Now, see, one very important question to be addressed since we are discussing this is this idea of small state versus big state. Lot of these groups in our country, this is just an illustrative, just a limited example of certain states, certain areas which demand a separate state, that give us our own state. So, what is the advantage of having a very small state? What is the advantage of having a big state? Or rather, what is an advantage of a small state and the challenges with having two smaller states. So, firstly, the big problem, or rather, let's start with the advantages. Advantages of small states are: a small state is easier to administer. There is always going to be administrative convenience. Small areas are easy to administer. Then there is this idea of homogeneity. If you take a small area, it is more likely that in that area similar type of people will be residing with similar aspirations, similar way of life, similar culture, etc. So lot of homogeneity will be there, and because of this it is going to promote development. It promotes development. Now, beyond this, it also increases the people's participation in administration. It brings administration closer to people. A smaller area, limited people, right? Administration is now close to people. People can increasingly take part in the administrative activities. And you can also see that there has been development. Smaller states, Jharkhand after bifurcation from Bihar, or Punjab and Haryana after bifurcation, or Uttarakhand after bifurcation, they have seen an improved growth rate after getting bifurcated from their big parent state. But there are some arguments against. One such argument that is put forward is: when you say a small state, what's the definition of small? Are you referring to small in terms of area, or are you referring to small in terms of population, or are you referring small in terms of density of population, or economic parameter? What is small? That's the first question. Second thing would be, if you create multiple small states, it only results in creating multiple institutions as well. Multiplicity of institutions. Not one, but many institutions. For example, think of this. If you bifurcated Andhra Pradesh to create Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, now we need two high courts, we need two governor offices, we need two CM's offices, we need two assemblies, we need two councils. Everything is duplicated, right? That's a problem. More states, more duplication. Bifurcated Madhuri. Madhuri, are you the weekday batch student? Say Madhuri. Bifurcation, English word, separate into two parts. Bifurcate. Okay. Then the problem of economic viability. You create a state or small states so small that those states have no resources only. No resources whatsoever. How will the state survive? It will always be with a begging bowl. Center, more money. Center, more funds. And also, if you have multiple states, 70, 80, hundreds of states, center state relation is going to be very complex, very, very complicated. And see, smaller states, we have also found that these smaller states, when it comes to any kind of situation where there is a fight of sorts between dealing with some problems between a bigger state and a smaller state, we have seen that a bigger state has large resources and it can get those problems resolved on their own. Smaller states has limited resources. Think of it. Let's take the example of Madhya Pradesh only. Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. Now, let us say a small part of the state is impacted with Maoists. Now, for a temporary period, Madhya Pradesh can devote all its resources towards this area to solve the problem. But Chhattisgarh has limited resources. What will it devolve? Right? So, a smaller state is more likely to be dependent on the center, especially in times of crisis, more likely to be dependent on the center in times of crisis, which is a very serious concern, right? So, this is again a problem, small state versus big state. Now, ideally, one thing you all have to agree that if you have a very small state, it is easy to administer. That goes without saying. That first point is absolutely valid. This does exist. So, what do we do now? Should we create small states, hundreds of them? Not really required. Why I say this is that if the logic is that a smaller area is easy to administer, don't we already have small administrative units? Don't we already have these units? We call them local self governance. Yes or no? If we can only empower them properly and effectively, that will serve the purpose. There is absolutely no need to go and create more states. No, of course, I'm not saying don't create states at all, but there should be a proper approach to creating states. For example, special development packages can be given first to the area which says that we are not developed, creating development board, right? Giving more autonomy, etc. All these things should be done first. If at all some group still says, no, I want my own state, if their population, their growth rate, their human development parameters require a special focus, then maybe we can accept the demands. But we cannot randomly accept demands. Rather, the state governments and the center should focus on improving the local self governance, which can serve the advantage of a smaller state, which is administrative convenience. So that's it. We are done with part one of the Indian Constitution. In your book Lakshmikant, that's mentioned under chapter 5. As far as articles are, let me write only. If you want to study Lakshmikant, please study chapter 5. Now, one thing I like to point out, in case you read your book Lakshmikant, chapter 5, you will find that 5.6 onwards, there are a lot of these stories of bifurcation. How, for example, in 1966, Punjab and Haryana were bifurcated, or rather, Haryana was created by separating itself from Punjab, etc. Uh, these are not really important for the examination. Now, if you say belong to a state, let's say you are from Jharkhand, then you should know what happened in the case of Jharkhand, why was it bifurcated, etc., in the year 2000. Or if you are from Telangana, then you should know that it was bifurcated in 2014. So, if you belong to such a state, then in the interview it may be required. Otherwise, no need at all to focus on these things. Yes, yes, Mysore state renamed Karnataka, Parshuram, or Madras, Tamil Nadu, all these things, if you belong to the state. Otherwise, don't expect UPSC to ask such a localized question, right? Now, important articles, Article 1 and 3, and we have also seen one schedule 1. Secondly, we have important cases. So, the presidential reference of Berubari Union 1960. That's it. Done. Okay, now let's move on to the second part of the Constitution, part 2, which deals with the concept of citizenship. Citizenship. See, as far as this idea of the citizenship is concerned, It is under part 2, articles 5 to 11, right? And before we begin our discussion on citizenship, let me just inform you of certain terms that we use under this topic, citizenship. Before that, uh, this concept of citizenship, which list do you think is this topic mentioned in? Under Schedule 7, what is your opinion? Where should it be mentioned? Tell me. Of course, the union list. So, citizenship is a union list subject, which is entry number 17. Clear? So this we know very well that if it is a union list subject, very good. Niranjan, Ragini, Karan, Nikhil, Kambapati, Eman, Pooja. So we know very well that center is the authority to make laws on such topics. Done. Simple. Again, I think somebody had in the afternoon also raised a concern about this Kerala passing some resolution. State governments can pass any resolution. Will that have any effect? No. If a topic is in the union list, then the resolution is just an opinion. It will have no effect. So today, Tamil Nadu or MP or West Bengal, any state cannot make any laws on citizenship. Now, one more thing. Always remember, our country has a single citizenship, single domicile. One citizenship and one domicile, meaning domicile, residence. We are all citizens of India. We are all residents of India. This is something Supreme Court has been saying again and again. They made the statement in the very old case called Parvatava versus Chinnava case, 1964. They also made this statement just last year in one Subbaraidu case, B. Subbaraidu case. The Supreme Court reiterated that we in our country are all people, citizens, one citizenship, one domicile. Okay. Citizens of India, residents of India. Maybe for certain purposes, residence could be a factor. But otherwise, we are all residents of India, free to move here and there, and we are all citizens of India. Now, who is a citizen? First question, of course. Citizen is a participatory member of a political community. When you call somebody a citizen, it confers on these people some legal right. So basically, we say, or not right, but status. Let's use the word status, legal status. So basically, if you are a citizen, you enjoy more rights and you also have to perform more duties. Simple. So, more rights and more duties or more obligations. That's a part and parcel of being an Indian citizen or a citizen of any country. Now, people living in a country can be divided into two. One is a citizen who is a part of this political community, which enjoy these people enjoy some participatory rights, etc. Those people who are outsiders have come to your country, have come to my country, and are living here. They are called aliens. Alien, not the Jadoo alien. Don't think of that. Okay? No confusion. These are people who are called foreigners. Alien, foreigner. Foreigner, alien. Synonyms. Now, aliens can be of two kinds. My first question to you: enemy alien. Let's not see the definition. Please tell me. Type your answer: A for yes, B for no. Pakistani citizens are enemy aliens. A lot of you said yes, some of you said no. One more question. Chinese citizens are enemy aliens. A for yes, B for no. Now, some of you have corrected yourself. So, basically, enemy alien is actually a definition. Okay. It has a very strict definition. What's the definition? The definition is that the people of that country with which India is officially fighting, officially at war. Citizen of a country with which India is officially at war. So, India is not at war with any country right now, including Pakistan or China, right? So, it is like we and Pakistan are in a toxic relationship, right? But we are not officially at war. When we are officially at war declared by the president, then you can say that yes, right now Pakistani citizens are enemy aliens. Clear? And all other people of all other countries are called friendly aliens. So foreigners can be of two kinds: enemy aliens and friendly aliens. Now, one more thing. Please understand this very important point, that in your country also, you will, I mean, since we are discussing about our country only, so in our country, you're all Indian citizens only, hopefully. So in our country, we have to move here and there for work. Somebody from Tamil Nadu can go to Maharashtra to work. Somebody from Bihar will go to Gujarat to work. Somebody from UP can go to Bangalore to work, Karnataka, etc. That's very likely, and does happen as well. People who leave their place of origin and move to some other place, if they are doing it freely out of their own choice for greener pastures, for better life, we call them migrants. So there are a lot of people who leave India and go to some other country of free choice, migrants. Lot of people leave other countries and come to India out of choice, migrants. Migrants are people who leave their home for another place for better opportunities. And the important element is by choice, not forced. Now, if somebody comes to India, enters India legally on valid documents, etc., we call the person legal migrant. But if somebody comes to India from under the wires, like in the movie Bajrangi Bhaijaan, right? Under the wires, that person will be called an illegal migrant. So, what is a valid document? So, when you want to go to any other country, two important documents that are needed are: number one, what you need is your country's citizenship proof. That's a passport. So, if I want to go to, say, Australia, I would need my country's passport, which proves that I am an Indian citizen. Second is the country I am going into, they have to also allow my entry. That's called a visa. So I also need to get a visa from Australia, the Australian government. Similarly, if somebody comes to India, they need their country's passport and they need a visa. A valid document given by the Indian government allowing you entry into India and stay up to a certain period. If you don't have these documents, illegal migrant. Or if you have the documents, come to India. Let's say the Indian government gave you visa for 1 month, and now you are staying for 6 months. Visa has expired also. That also makes you illegal migrant. Legal, enter with valid documents, or illegal, enter without valid documents or stay beyond the permitted time period. That makes you an illegal migrant. And a very, very important point to help you understand this is, if you are an illegal migrant in the country, we don't give you citizenship. Are you clear? India does not give citizenship to illegal migrants. Keep on crying, but no citizenship. No citizenship to illegal migrants. Meaning, illegal migrants are not eligible only to apply for citizenship. Are we clear on this? Everybody? No doubts? Okay. Now, apart from this, one small word that you need to know is a refugee. So, who is a refugee? The difference between migrants and refugees is the fact that a migrant has left his country out of free will. A refugee has left his country through force. People who are forced to leave their country due to war, any kind of armed conflict, any kind of persecution, etc. Okay, so this is with respect to refugees. Are we clear? Now let me just clarify. India has not been a part of any treaty, etc., which says that we are forced to accept refugees. But ideally, when a person has come to our country and he or she has been facing uh, death threats in their own country, it is uh, morally an obligation on the parent country, on the country also, that you should not expel or return, uh, force them to return to a situation where their life and their freedom would be under threat. But that's a moral obligation. It in no way binds India into accepting any refugee in our country. If we do it, good, it's a very generous of us. If we don't do it, you cannot raise any concern. Are we clear? So this is with respect to the important terms that we should know before we proceed into our discussion on the constitutional provisions, which is very simple and easy to understand, because these provisions are now of no importance to us. Are we clear? All the constitutional provisions on citizenship, they relate to the date of commencement of the constitution, which is the 26th of January 1950. So all the articles you will see right now, 5, 6, 7, 8, these articles tell us who became an Indian citizen on the 26th of January 1950. What happens afterwards? These articles are completely silent on that. They have nothing to say. They are limited to dealing with the provisions of Indian citizenship just in and around that particular time zone of 26th January 1950. Articles 5, 6, 7, 8. Clear? So let's begin our discussion on the constitutional provisions. Starting with Article 5. Do we need a break, guys? A small break, or should we continue till 5:40? Dinesh, always eager for a break. Let's take a poll. A for break, B for no break. A for break and B for no break. Okay, we'll take a repoll. A for break, B for no break. Let's say if somebody has a change of heart. Though as a presiding officer, I should have a tiebreaker point, but anyway. No break. Some of you had a change of heart now. So we will not have a break. We'll continue. Okay. So Articles 5, 6, 7, 8 deal with the provisions pertaining to who would become or who would not be called an Indian citizen in or on 26th January 1950. Very simple. Don't worry. We'll simply see these and move forward because they're of no importance now. Before that, two terms that you should know. What are these two terms? Use the pronunciation, though it's mentioned as just, but it's written as JUS just, but the pronunciation is use soli, right of the soil. Right of the soil, which means what? If any country gives citizenship, I will use this symbol for citizenship, please don't be confused. Citizenship by birth, we call it jus soli. The concept of citizenship by birth is called jus soli, meaning if you are born on that soil, you automatically become the citizen of the country. But otherwise, if that is not the case and your citizenship is based on your parents, right? Based on ethnicity, it's called jus sanguinis. This is based on ethnicity. Ancestry, parents, citizenship, because your parents are Indian citizens. That's why we are calling you an Indian citizen. That will be called jus sanguinis. And to tell you frankly, since 1987 only, India has stopped giving jus soli. You are not going to be considered to be an Indian citizen just because you are born on the Indian soil. Are we clear? To be called an Indian citizen, your parents must be Indian citizens. The times have changed now. Just a minute, guys. So, as I was saying, the constitutional provisions. Now, back to Articles 5, 6, 7, 8. As far as Article 5 is concerned, very simple. Every person who has a domicile in the territory of India and who was born in the territory of India, either of whose parents were born or who has been living in the country before 5 years, preceding commencement. What commencement? Of the Constitution, will be called as citizen of India. So on the 26th of January 1950, who is an Indian citizen? Those who were born in the territory of India, or your parents were born, or you have been living in India for the last 5 years. You on 26th of January are called an Indian citizen. Clear? Article 5. Article is not important, don't worry. Then Article 6. Now, all those people who migrated to India from Pakistan, once the announcement was made that India will be partitioned into two nations, East West Pakistan and India, lot of people wanted to come to India. So, if you have come to India from Pakistan, you and have been living in India since then, you will be called an Indian citizen. Now, of course, the government wanted to keep a check on who was coming to India. So, the check was this cutoff date. This date has no special place in the history, nothing unique and special. It is just a day on which an ordinance came into force. That's it. So, from this date onwards, if you migrated to India from Pakistan on or after this date, you have to get yourself registered as a citizen with a officer appointed. So you have to go to the government office and get registered as a citizen. Otherwise, before this date, you could freely come to India from Pakistan and would still be called an Indian citizen. Article 6, very simple. Then Article 7 uh, and of course Article 8. Now, Article 7 is for those people who were the confused people. Some people, when the partition happened, they went from India to Pakistan. But when they went to Pakistan, they said, oh, by mistake, I have come to a very bad country. Let me go back to India. And they again go back to India. Okay? They again go back to India. These people, they had to, after coming back, get a permit of resettlement. That I want to resettle in India. Sorry, when the partition was announced, I thought Pakistan will be a great country, so I ran to Pakistan. But I realized that no, sorry, I made a mistake. I want to come back to India. So, persons who migrated to Pakistan after this date, 1st of March 1947, the announcement of the partition, but returned to India under this, after this, they have to get a special permit to resettle, and then they'll be called an Indian citizen on the 26th of January 1950, 1950. And lastly, any person who or either of whose parents or any of whose grandparents was born in India, you will also be called an Indian citizen on the 26th of January 1950. But please understand, if at any point of time any person tries to acquire any foreign country's citizenship, he or she will no longer be deemed to be an Indian citizen on the 26th of January. And lastly, Parliament has the full authority to make laws with respect to acquiring or even terminating, ending the citizenship. Right? In fact, Ambedkar had mentioned this point. You can read here that it is not the objective of this particular article to lay down a permanent law of citizenship. The business of laying down the permanent law of citizenship is left for the parliament to make. Right? So, the makers of our constitution told us who is going to be an Indian citizen on the 26th of January 1950. Beyond that, who is going to be an Indian citizen? The parliament should decide. Are we clear, everyone? Yashaswini, sir, I have a question. What if after expiry of the legal document, person marries an Indian, can he get citizenship? Uh, After expiry, if you marry, no. Illegal migrant, no, no, no. Within, before the expiry, if you marry, of course, there's some condition. Registration, will see it shortly. Sidhya, sir, Seema neither. Seema neither? Acha, that lady who came from, I am not sure about that story. So there are a lot of, issues and concerns in that story. So, and it's better to watch the media channels to get to know where she used to dance in front of. I saw this small clip circulating on how the media channels are not covering important issues, and they had gone to her this lady's house, and they were asking questions. Oh, this is a place you used to dance. How do you live here? What kind of food do you eat? This is what our media has come down to now. What can we do? Sadly, nobody covers the loss of lives of people in West Bengal, and nobody covers the destruction of slums in Delhi, but everybody runs to cover all this nonsense news. Maybe that's what we deserve, right? That is what we deserve also as a nation, the collective conscience of our nation. Maybe we should first deserve and then desire. Okay. Nikhil, Seema Haider is more spicy. After visa period, she married TN men. The Sri Lankan issue, Senthil, yes, that's there. Okay, we see stories of all these things happening. Somebody swam across the Bay of Bengal only and came to West Bengal to marry somebody of their choice and all. All these things, they all end up either getting deported or jailed. Okay, so as I was saying that a law is required to be made, a law has been made. Which is the law? This is the law. This is the law which has been made with respect to what? How to acquire and how to lose the Indian citizenship. The Citizenship Act 1955. This law tells us how now we can get Indian citizenship or how now we can lose Indian citizenship. So basically, this is what the law tells us, right? Now, this law has been amended so many times, 9 times. The last CAA was a big concern for us. The CAA 2019, other CAAs not really of much trouble. Acquisition of citizenship. There are 5 ways to acquire citizenship: by birth, by descent, by registration, naturalization, and incorporation of territory. Let me just take a small break, and we'll be back at 5:10 just for 5 minutes, a water drinking break only, nothing beyond that. Come back at 5:10 quickly. We'll discuss the points. Don't leave the session, just remain here only. Okay. Okay, guys, let's begin without wasting much time. Let's begin our discussion on how to acquire citizenship. Very simple, very easy to understand. How do we acquire Indian citizenship? Some people are gone again. Okay, so now coming to the ways to acquire Indian citizenship by birth. Now, this no longer exists, and all these things are primarily what? They are primarily sections, various sections of what? Citizenship Act 1955. Section 3, Section 4, Section 5, Section 6, Section 7. Sections. Section not important. By birth, meaning if you are born on Indian soil, born on Indian soil is a reference to being born in India. Don't claim, sir, what if they are born in hospital? Is it also Indian soil? Yes, it is Indian soil. But only till 1987. Now, now what? Based on parents. If your parents are Indian citizens, then you are Indian citizen. This is sufficient information. By descent. So these are people born outside India. Born outside India. Now, when it comes to being born outside India, for example, some of you here, if you are IFS officer, Indian Foreign Service officers, you go to a foreign country, you have a kid there. Now, that kid will also be given Indian citizenship because you are an Indian citizen. Either parent is an Indian citizen. Okay, then you will be given the tag of being an Indian citizen based on your parents. Very simple. Are we clear? These are two criteria to get Indian citizenship if you are born of Indian parents, whether born inside India or outside India. Very simple. Sidhya, sir, what if someone born in flight? So if the plane is in the airspace of India, you are born in India. If the plane is in the airspace of some other country, you are born in that country. Okay? Or on the boundary, border, exact border. Now that may be difficult, right? Maybe you are born close to the border. So whichever side, if somebody goes deliberately and says, no, I will deliver a kid on the border only, the border security forces will not allow this to happen. So it will be either this or that. Please don't have such plans. That may not be possible. Okay. Nikhil, born in international waters. International waters, Nikhil, is outside Indian territory. This means what? You are not born in India. That is why the point of difference is born on Indian soil and outside India, right? So you are considered to be born outside India. We have to check your parents. If they are Indian citizens, you will be given Indian citizenship. Everything covered. Now, there are some people, somebody is mentioning this point that what if somebody marries an Indian? That is called registration. Very simple. If somebody, a foreigner, now these two are meant for foreigners. Okay, for somebody you who held a foreign passport. So registration is for those people who have a bond with India, bond with India, either by way of marriage or by way of say ancestry, blood. So if anybody here gets married to a foreigner, let's say a foreigner falls in love with you, uh, yes, that may happen. Don't give up hope, right? Great things can happen in life, like you fulfilling your desire to marry a foreigner. And if the foreigner is willing to come here and stay here, then of course the foreigner can apply for Indian citizenship, but they have to stay for 7 years in India. So they have to prove their love for 7 years, right? So once they have suffered for 7 years in India, I am sure they cannot live in any other place, right? So that's there. Sidhya, sir, can I get citizenship of USA by marrying a girl of USA? Sir, what plans? You are working for studying for civil services, sir. Why do you plan to marry a girl of USA? But yes, you can, depending on other conditions, right? In the USA, what are their laws on how many years you have to live there, etc. Those things. In India, if a foreigner marries you, Sidhya, then he or I presume you are a guy. So a girl who marries you, she'll have to stay with you for 7 years, and then she can apply for Indian citizenship. Okay. Now, naturalization. This is for those people who have no relationship to India whatsoever. No relationship to India whatsoever. At all. At all. Now, when it comes to these foreigners, they will come to India. They may have seen some YouTube video. Oh, India is amazing country, land of spices, various spices, oh, tasty food, amazing food, so much of cheese and butter on food. Great, amazing. They come to India, they can apply for citizenship, no problem, right? But they have to prove their love by staying in India for some time. For how long? Let me draw a diagram to help you understand this point. Okay, so let's draw a diagram here. You should be staying in India for the past 12 months. 12 months, and this is 14 years. For the past 12 months, continuous stay in India. For the past 12 months, you are continuously staying in India. And this here is the date of application, right? And in the previous 14 years, you have been in India for any 11 years. Any 11 years. So, in total, how many years? 11 plus 1, 12 years. Did we understand this point? Or should I repeat this point? Okay, I'll explain once again. See, I am a foreigner. Foreigner. Adnan Sami. Singer. Musician. 14th 14th Dalai Lama. Tenzin Gyatso. Foreigner. In both these circumstances, what can happen is, I am a citizen of UK. Foreigner. Not of India. But I love India. I come to India. Now I think I want to apply for Indian citizenship. What is the eligibility criteria? On the date of application, like today, if I'm applying today, that is the 16th of September 2023. This means 16/9/22 to 15/9/23. In this duration, I have to be living in India continuously. Okay? Continuously living in India only. Last 1 year. And prior to that, in the previous 14 years, that means from 17/9/2008 to 16/9/2022. In this duration, I should be living in India for at least 11 years. In these 14 years, 11 years in India, and this full time in India. Only then will I be allowed to apply for Indian citizenship. Did you understand? Sendil, Golapalli, Ganesh, Sherlin, Madhuri? Yes, Yashaswini, of course. Verification and all. When you are applying for Indian citizenship, all the data is there. Any foreigner who comes to India, they have to come through the immigration check only. So government has all the data. Don't worry. Due diligence is being done. I'm just giving you the basic criteria, not the actual rules that are required on the airport. Clear? Okay. Naturalization. Now tell me, Sonia Gandhi is an example of citizenship through what method? Please, I would love to know your opinion. Sonia Gandhi is an amazing. Ravi and Kambapati. Others also very good. Example of registration, right? Registration. Now, as far as As far as the last method is concerned, it's the easiest. If today India captures Pakistan, if India captures Pakistan, incorporating the territory of Pakistan, then all the people of Pakistan may become Indian citizens. May. It's not automatic. And if center issues notification, if the center issues a notification, of course, of course, after this, after this, all the people of that area that we have captured will be called Indian citizens. But it is not automatic. This means what? This means what? If today we capture Pakistan, but we don't issue any notification telling that Pakistani citizens are now Indian citizens, then all those people living in Pakistan, they will be stateless because the land belongs to India and India is not giving them citizenship. That can also be done. So by incorporation of territory like Pondicherry, on the 1st of July 1963, Pondicherry became a part of India. And the treaty was signed between India and France, I think, on in 1956 month of May, which was then approved in the French Assembly and the Senate. Once it was done, Pondicherry became a part of India. Are we clear, Nikhil? Only okay. This is true. These are ways in which we can get citizenship. Now the question: how will you lose your citizenship? And one more thing: in case of naturalization, this 14 or 12-year long period can be removed. Actually, if you are a person who has contributed immensely in the say field of science, in the field of philosophy, in the field of art, literature, human progress, world peace, right? Then the central government can remove any criteria and say, come on, come to India, Indian citizen. So for that, let's say Elon Musk, if he applies for citizenship through naturalization, we may remove the criteria of 14 years or 12 years. We can simply say, come on, man, come to India, enjoy, right? Because of his contribution to science. Clear? Or let's say Imran Khan from Pakistan, human progress, right? Or Barack Obama from USA, world peace. Of course, Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, right? So basically, all these peaceful people who have contributed to science, etc., philosophy, art, literature, maybe Messi, if he comes to India, we can say, come on, Messi, you are an Indian citizen. All these things can be done by the central government. Now, how do we lose Indian citizenship? Very, very simple. Point number one: by renunciation. We give up Indian citizenship. Okay? If you give up Indian citizenship, you will lose Indian citizenship. Point one. Point two: if you acquire the citizenship of some other country, termination, your citizenship of India is automatically gone. So renunciation means giving up Indian citizenship, and termination means acquiring citizenship of another country, right? But these things may not be applicable in case India is at war. So let's say China attacks India and China is saying, I will kill all Indian citizens. Now suddenly you say, no, no, but I am not Indian citizen. I have given up Indian citizenship. That may not be allowed. So may not apply during war. Clear? Like Akshay Kumar. So all the fans of Akshay Kumar, a glorious moment for you that now Akshay Kumar has finally become an Indian citizen. I'm sure the fans are extremely happy that this moment has come, that Akshay Kumar has become an Indian citizen. Great, glorious moment, right? But Akshay Kumar's citizenship was being taken away, or rather, the step was called termination because he gave up Indian citizenship and acquired the citizenship of Canada, or as some people in the country call Canada. Are you clear? Now, the third thing is deprivation. This is done by the government. Now, let me tell you one thing, a very interesting thing. As of now, there is no law in the country which can take away our citizenship. Are we clear? No law. Deprivation is for those people who have obtained their citizenship through registration or naturalization. Their citizenship can be taken away by the government. And what can be a reason? Reasons like if you show disloyalty to the constitution, disloyalty to the constitution, or if you have obtained the citizenship via fraud, then it can be taken away. Are we clear? So there is also a very generic kind of thing that is required here. And what is that requirement? That requirement is that uh, these people need to also take an oath of allegiance. Okay, oath of allegiance is required to be taken by these people. Only then will the formal procedure be complete. So these are ways in which you can acquire or can lose Indian citizenship. Are we clear, everybody? Or is there still some doubt in your minds? Please, innocent aspirants, any question, any query, any concern? Now, see, what are those exact dates and stuff? I have mentioned at the end of our chapter here. By birth, between these dates, after these dates, between these dates, after this date, registration, naturalization. See, it's mentioned here. Central government may waive all or any of the conditions for naturalization in the case of a person who has rendered distinguished service. Science, philosophy, art, literature, world peace, human progress. Clear? These things are there. Okay. Same goes for this: renunciation, termination, and deprivation. In case you want to mug up this information, mug it up to your heart's content. But sadly, I don't see it of any importance in the examination. Firstly, this topic is of zero importance in main examination. Zero importance. Secondly, in the prelims also, we have rarely seen questions coming from these topics. Rarely. Once or twice. So please don't go crazy at all. Please limit yourself, control your emotions, and what is mentioned here is sufficient. Oh, sorry, my bad. It is for these people only. Yeah, now it's correct. Sorry. Are you clear? So let me erase this to avoid any confusion. Right? Now, moving on to this concept. For main sir not asking the question, this topic, Madhuri, what kind of sentence formation is this? This is not a mains oriented topic. Even the first part, most of the topics you will see now, they have maybe one question in the last 5 6 years or 10 years have been asked from this topic in the main examinations. These are smaller topics, prelims oriented. Okay, what we have studied so far, that is what is important for mains, and one topic, that is center state relations, and one fundamental rights. Beyond that, these are just passing topics, but you should know this because prelims questions are always asked from these topics, one or two questions here and there every odd years. Now, you'll discuss all this in IR classes. I'll just brief you very quickly. India and Bangladesh were fighting a war. If you remember, sorry, India and Pakistan were fighting a war because Pakistan, I hope you understand, is a country which will harass its own people. Back in 1950s, when the partition was done, East and West Pakistan, which is currently Pakistan, East Pakistan, which is currently Bangladesh. Now, these two sides had different way of life, different culture. Everything was different. Every damn thing was different, right? Still under one common governance of West Pakistan. Now, West Pakistani people started imposing their language, their culture, their way of life on East Pakistan. East Pakistanis, Bengali speaking people, different way of life. West Pakistanis, Urdu speaking people, different way of life. No autonomy was being given to East Pakistan. Suffering and suffering. They started escaping to India, coming to India, moving to India. India, especially in Assam, people of Assam were very angry. They are coming, these outsiders, foreigners are coming to our state and disrupting our way of life, right? We'll become minorities in our own land. So they were very angry. Now, the point here was that in 1971, finally, India chopped off a part of Pakistan to create a new country called Bangladesh, for which Bangladesh should always be obliged to us. But sadly, they are not. It's okay. We don't really care. Nevertheless, Pakistan is always angry and upset for that with India, but they are so shameful, shameless rather. My bad, shameless. They don't realize the amount of atrocities they were committing on their own people. When the Indian forces entered the areas in East Pakistan, there are horrific stories of how they would find or encounter camps full of pregnant women impregnated by West Pakistani soldiers, the East Pakistani women, to carry the child, West Pakistani child. This was the atrocity that Pakistani soldiers committed on their own people. On their own people. So when our left wing liberals tell us that, oh, war killed my father, not Pakistan, I think they have to get a reality check in life. Right? That countries, I'm not here to spew venom against Pakistan, but the country is built on hatred towards India. That's what they can do, sadly. Maybe their Coke Studio songs are very nice, but that does not mean that we uh, start ignoring. what has been done by these people, right? It's not that armed forces don't go wrong. Yes, there are allegations of atrocities by armed forces across the globe, but not to this extent, not on our own people at this limit. That is why when we try to sing the songs of Aman Ki Asha, we have to be within reasonable limits on what is the expectation from Pakistan. Don't go too crazy, overboard on your expectations. Anyway, after 1971, when Bangladesh was created, and now people of Bangladesh can stay in your own country, your own government, still you are coming to India. This is what irked the people of Assam. They said, what is this nonsense? How are we to then ensure the protection of our culture and customs? So, after a 6 year long struggle, the ASU, All Assam Students Union, which is actually a political union, rather, sorry, which is actually a student union, which is headquartered in Guwahati University, ASU, and a student organization, and All Assam Gan Sangram Parishad, which is now a political party called Assam Gan Parishad. Gan is people. So, an agreement was signed that India is going to find out all those illegal migrants who have come to India from Pakistan into Assam and have to be sent back. So cut-off dates were decided. Section 6A was added to the Citizenship Act. People who came before this date, don't worry, we'll give you Indian citizenship. But only to Assam, not to other parts of the country. Okay? People who have come between these two dates, we'll give you all rights except right to vote for 10 years. After 10 years, you are given full citizenship, but stay for 10 years first. And those people who came after this date, the Bangladesh Liberation War, Mukti Juddho, they should be identified and deported. Deported where? Tell me. You have to be identified and you have to be deported. We have to identify all the illegal migrants who have entered Assam after 1971 and have to be sent back to which country? Bangladesh. What's the proof they've come from Bangladesh? And why will Bangladesh accept them back? Right? Very unique as a problem. Anyway, ponder over it. Let's take a break. After the break, we'll discuss on this point only, and I'll also introduce you to some terms like OCI, PIO, NRC, NPR, etc. Okay? Break, please, guys. Come back at 6:05 to continue the discussion further. Break, please.